The markets are closed, but the business stories are just heating up. Hello, I'm Robert Tan. Catch up with us on Business Brief. Asian shares advanced on Wednesday after U.S. stocks drifted closer to their records. Japan's Nikkei 225 rose by 0.85%, while South Korea's Kospi saw a strong gain of more than 2% after the liberal opposition candidate Lee Jae-myung was elected president that capped months of political turmoil triggered by the stunning but brief imposition of martial law by the now ousted conservative leader Yoon Suk-yeol. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index climbed 0.72% and the Shanghai Composite added 0.43%. Australia's ASX 200 also advanced by 0.71%. However, Singapore's Straits Times Index bucked the trend, slipping slightly by 0.13%. In the currency markets, the US dollar showed mixed performance against major Asia-Pacific currencies. It strengthened against the Japanese yen, gaining 0.19%. The dollar is flat with a slight uptick against the Hong Kong dollar, up by 0.12% against the Singapore dollar, and higher by 0.15% against the Thai baht. However, the greenback weakened against the South Korean won, slipping 0.18%, and also lost ground against the Australian dollar, down by nearly 0.1%. Market commodities and cryptocurrencies showed a mixed performance. Gold prices remained steady with an upward bias. In the energy market, the West Texas Intermediate crude slipped 0.41%, while Brent crude is down by 0.40%. In contrast, Dubai crude bucked the trend with a solid gain of nearly 2%. And in the crypto space, Bitcoin fell by 0.69%, while Ethereum managed a slight gain of 0.39%. The Philippine Deposit Insurance Corporation, or PDIC, generates more than 400 million pesos from the sale of 281 properties in 2024. This is higher than the 330 million peso sales recorded in 2023. Of the 281 properties sold, 71 were PDIC acquired assets, while the 210 were owned by closed banks. PDIC says this reflects the corporation's effective asset disposal strategies. The Philippines will have more sources of poultry products. This comes after the Department of Agriculture allows the shipments from 2 meat plants in Thailand through the signing of the Department Order Number 8. Under the order, the 2 foreign meat establishments audited by the DA inspection mission were found to be compliant with the country's quarantine and meat inspection system procedures. Agriculture Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel also signed DO Number 7, approving the entry of additional meat types from Taiwan. This comes after Taiwan sought approval for additional commodities, particularly pork, offal, and skin, for 4 of its approved foreign meat establishments to export into the country. The Agriculture Department is cracking down on livestock farms operating without the necessary permits. The agency blames these facilities in distorting the country's supply chain and price stability. Agriculture Chief Francisco Chu Laurel said the Bureau of Animal Industry has issued show-cause orders to 9 pig farms in Bulacan, Pampanga, and Tarlac. These farms must explain why they continue to operate despite bypassing basic health, environmental, and safety regulations. Laurel said the move is in line with the order of President Marcos to crack down on unregistered livestock facilities. Attorney Francis Lim vows to put his heart and soul into his new role as the next head of the Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC. Lim says that he is deeply honored and humbled by the trust and confidence that President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. placed on him through the appointment. Lim served as President and CEO of the Philippine Stock Exchange from 2004 to 2010. He is also a senior partner at the Accra Law, a leading law firm in the country. The country's wellness market expands to $43.3 billion in 2023. Latest data from the nonprofit Global Wellness Institute, or GWI, shows that this is higher than $35.8 billion recorded in 2019. This ranks the Philippines 8th among 45 Asia-Pacific markets and 23rd out of 218 globally. GWI explains that this is due to the growth in spas, physical activity, wellness real estate, and wellness tourism. Emperador Incorporated net profit rose to 1.9 billion pesos in the first quarter of the year. Data of the company's stock report from Regina Capital shows that this is 7% higher compared last year, while the company's revenues inched up by 1% to 13.2 billion pesos. This is driven by its brandy segment, which revenue rose to 8.7 billion pesos in revenue and 1.4 billion pesos in net profit due to improved product mix and low interest and tax expenses. Meanwhile, Villar Land Holdings Corporation, led by ultra-Bilyonaryo Manny Villar, bears commercial lot prices of its crown jewel, the Villar City. The developer asserts this is still cheaper than neighboring Philinvest City's prices, which range from 396,000 to nearly 600,000 per square meter. Villar Land believes the cheaper lot prices at its estate leaves room for capital appreciation, given the ongoing developments that will introduce new commercial hubs and lifestyle centers, among others. It cites infrastructure enhancements such as the Muntinlupa-Cavite Expressway and the integrated LRT system and bus rapid transit network that will improve connectivity and convenience. We're taking a short break. The biggest business stories from around the country are up next. You're watching Business Brief. Banks are stepping up efforts to integrate financial technology into the daily lives of Filipinos, and Union Digital Bank is rolling out a new strategy to do just that. Sujin Kim joins us from Taguig City to give us more details. Sujin, go ahead.
Robert, the digital lender, is shifting from rapid expansion to what it calls a low and grow model, focusing on smaller short-term loans supported by tighter credit rules. As of May, Union Digital has recorded over 1 million registered users, with close to 500,000 active loan clients. The bank admits it remains deposit-light, reflecting its business model centered on inclusion rather than traditional savings. Loan disbursements for the year are expected to fall below 2024 levels as the bank enforces stricter lending standards. Credit scoring now relies heavily on alternative data, including telco usage, utility payments, and other non-traditional indicators to reach borrowers without formal credit histories. Non-performing loans have dropped to single-digit levels since a leadership reset in August last year, following a full review of the bank's lending systems, risk management, and customer targeting strategy. As it moves to deepen customer engagement, Union Digital is set to launch new products in the coming months. These include a Visa-powered virtual debit card for online payments, QRPH support for business-to-business and business-to-merchant transactions, an upgraded mobile app, and the formal rollout of UD Cash Loans, the bank's rebranded consumer loan platform. Loan ticket sizes currently range between 30,000 to 50,000 pesos with tenors of 3 to 9 months. Meanwhile, following the Bangko Central's decision to lift the moratorium on new digital bank licenses, Union Digital maintains they are taking a neutral stance on competition for now. And those are latest updates from Taguig City. Back to you, Robert.
Thank you for that report, Sujin Kim. Meanwhile, tech billionaire Elon Musk is blasting a spending bill backed by U.S. President Donald Trump, calling it a disgusting abomination. On his social media platform X, the world's richest man warned the proposal would massively increase an already gigantic budget deficit and burden citizens with crushingly unsustainable debt. But the White House is shrugging off Musk's criticism.
Look, the president already knows where Elon Musk stood on this bill. It doesn't change the president's opinion. This is one big, beautiful bill, and he's sticking to it.
Musk, who left the Trump administration last week, had led efforts to streamline federal bureaucracy and cut red tape as head of the Department of Government Efficiency. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva says his country has been trying to negotiate tariffs with the United States, but this has yet to produce results. He vowed to take action if no agreement is reached. Trump previously said he planned to increase tariffs on steel imports from 25 to 50%, increasing pressure on global steel producers. The tariffs would apply to millions of tons of steel and aluminum imports from Canada, Brazil, Mexico, South Korea, and other countries that had been entering the U.S. duty-free.
Então, a minha posição na questão do comércio.
So, my position on the issue of trade, on the tariff that was imposed on Brazil, the direction we have is as follows. First, we're going to try to spend as much time as possible negotiating. Minister of Development, Geraldo Alckmin, and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mauro Vieira, have already held several meetings. Secondly, if there's no agreement, we'll go to the World Trade Organization or we'll decide to have reciprocity.
The Cuban government said it will offer mobile internet data plans at sharply reduced rates for students. This after an initial rate hike prompted outrage among people already struggling due to soaring inflation and shortages of basic goods. Last week, the state-run telecommunications firm Etexa offered subsidized data plans at just under $1 at 6 gigabytes. After that, newly announced prices for an additional 3 gigabytes soared to $9. That's more than half the average monthly wage of $16. Many plans are offered only in dollars, a currency out of reach for many Cubans. But the people cried foul over the rates, saying these are inaccessible.
Starting with university students, and then we will move on with other specific groups, as we'll have specific offers according to their needs. Not all will be the same, but we will start with university students and will implement the possibility to buy a second plan with 6 gigabytes. In other words, they and all the population have the possibility to buy 6 gigabytes for $360, but specifically these users, who will be registered in our database, will have the possibility to buy another plan.
Shifts in U.S. trade policy could hold back efforts to lower inflation. That warning came from a senior U.S. central bank official as President Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs continue to disrupt the economy. Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook said while the ultimate level of Trump's tariffs remains unknown, the effects are already noticeable. She also warned of higher inflation and a jobs market cooldown. So far, the Fed's preferred gauge of inflation, the Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index, rose 2.1% from a year ago in April. This was down from a month prior, but slightly above the central bank's 2% target. We're taking a short break. Business Brief will be right back. The Trade and Industry Department is bent on hitting its investments target of more than 1 trillion pesos for this year, despite a slow start. Sujin Kim returns with this report.
The Department of Trade and Industry targets 1.75 trillion pesos in total investments for 2025. But as of May, only 329 billion pesos in committed investments have been recorded, barely 20% of the full-year goal.
We're really hoping to hit the 1.75. That's really the goal.
Trade Secretary Cristina Roque is optimistic the target can be reached, citing strategic alignment across more than 30 government agencies working in sync. A memorandum of understanding was signed to formalize the Investments Facilitation Network, or InfoNet, a multi-agency system designed to speed up and streamline strategic investment approvals.
This JMC formalizes a more coordinated, transparent, and timely approach to progressing strategic investment applications. We now have 38 member agencies working together to address common investor concerns, from permitting and taxation to customs procedure and incentives.
From day one, the administration of President BBM has been putting in place bold and sweeping reforms to position the Philippines as an attractive investment destination in Southeast Asia, to be able to provide thousands, if not millions, of jobs to our fellow countrymen.
Secretary Frederick Goss says the administration is determined to match, if not surpass, the 1.95 trillion in total investments registered in 2024.
This is great news, but at the same time, it is a challenge, because now that becomes the base. That is now the statistic that we have to beat in 2025 and all the way to 2028.
Despite external headwinds, including geopolitical uncertainties and tariff risks, DTI insists its focus remains clear: to deliver on its trade and industry goals and position the Philippines as a prime investment hub in the region. Sujin Kim, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Philippine shares snap its two-day winning streak after falling in the third trading day of the week. The PSE index ended lower by 0.5% to close at 63.78, finishing the day as the second worst performer in Asia. Majority of the sectoral indices ended in the red, with mining and oil falling the most at 0.9%. Advancers outpaced decliners 115 to 78. Total value turnover reached 6.3 billion pesos. More than half of the day's most active stocks ended in the red, with SM Prime Holdings falling the most at nearly 3%. Meanwhile, at the foreign exchange market, the peso is currently trading at 55.76 against the greenback, weakening from previous close of 55.72. And that's a wrap for today's Business Brief. I'm Robert Tan. Join us again tomorrow as we bring you the stories that help you plan your next big, bold moves in business, only here on the Bilyonaryo News Channel. See you then.